Now on the new year. Madam President, I'd like to begin the second session of the 118th Congress by wishing you and all of my colleagues a happy new year. I hope everyone was able to spend time with family, with friends, meet constituents. This past Christmas New Year's recess, however, was a busy, consequential, and most of all, a productive time for the U.S. Senate. Senators and staff worked straight through Christmas and straight through the new year on avoiding a government shutdown, on protecting America's security, even protecting the future of Western democracy. And we've made some real progress. First, I have excellent news on government funding. Yesterday, I announced with Speaker Johnson that congressional leaders have reached a top-line agreement for government funding for the 2024 fiscal year. When we began our negotiations, our goal was to preserve a non-defense funding level of $772 billion, the same level agreed to in our debt ceiling deal last June. And that $772 billion was precisely the number we reached. Not a nickel was cut. Again, our goal was 772, and that's precisely the number we reached in this bipartisan agreement. The agreement now clears the way for Congress to act in the coming weeks to avoid a government shutdown, while also preserving key domestic programs that benefit millions of Americans. The framework agreement will enable the appropriators to address many of the major challenges America faces at home and abroad. It also allows us to keep the investments for hardworking American families that congressional Democrats and President Biden secured through our legislative agenda. And, Madam President, both parties reached this agreement without resorting to the painful and draconian cuts that the hard right, particularly those in the Freedom Caucus, clamored for. The hard right wanted to put a chopping block on programs that help millions of Americans. So I'm happy to say that Democrats protected vital priorities like housing programs, veterans benefits, health care, nutrition programs, small business support, the National Health Sound, the NHS, and funding for federal law enforcement. And I'm particularly pleased that we will protect the historic climate investment Democrats passed in the Inflation Reduction Act. The hard right wanted to use the appropriations process to undo our climate investments. Democrats said no, and we held the line. The hard right also wanted to make cuts to the IRS so that the ultra-rich tax cheats could weasel their way out of paying their fair share. By keeping the cuts at $20 billion, I'm happy to say this agreement will not affect the IRS's ability to keep holding the richest tax cheats accountable. Remember, when Democrats passed the Inflation Reduction Act, we gave the IRS new tools to audit the richest of the rich who don't pay their fair share. All these tools will remain in place. So, Madam President, this top-line agreement is an excellent start to the year because it's a huge step towards avoiding a government shutdown. Of course, our work must continue. Producing 12 appropriations bills will not be easy. It's going to require agreement from the four corners and a lot more compromise between the parties. And make no mistake, Democrats have made clear to Speaker Johnson that we will not support the inclusion of any poison pills in any of the 12 appropriation bills before the Congress. In the statement that Leader Jeffries and I put out yesterday, we made it clear that we would not accept poison pills. If the hard right chooses to spoil this agreement with poison pills, they'll be to blame if we start careening towards a shutdown. And I know Speaker Johnson has said that nobody wants to see a shutdown happen.